So there is. So there is one question. All lends are liable to pay lend revenue unless specifically exempted. Okay, so under Lend Revenue Act, whatever lends we have, as a general rule, they are liable to pay lend revenue. Okay, but if they are specially exempted under the legislation, if it is mentioned that this certain type of land or this certain type of property is exempted, only in such cases they are not supposed to pay lend revenue. But as a general rule, all lends are liable to pay lend revenue. Okay, so Karnataka Land Revenue Act 1964 is an act to consolidate and amend the law relating to land and land revenue administration in the state of Karnataka. Now, this intro part, right, it is same for almost all the answers that you can remember. Okay, and after that, the main part that will change. So this sentence you can anyways remember for any question relating to Karnataka Land Revenue Act. Okay, Section 80 of this legislation specifies that all land are liable to pay land revenue unless they are specifically exempted. All land, whether applied to agricultural or other purposes, and wherever situated, including unalienated Jamawani land held by occupant in Kurg district, is liable to payment of land revenue in the state of Karnataka according to provisions of this legislation, except such as may be wholly exempted under provisions of any special contract with government or any provision of this act or any other law for the time being enforced. So in general, all the lands are liable to pay land revenue, but if there is some sort of a land which is specifically exempted, okay, wholly exempted because there may be some contract with the government related to that plot of land. So under such contract, if some land is exempted wholly, that is a different matter. Otherwise, all lands are liable to pay land revenue, provided that the state government by notification or order and subject to such conditions, if any, as may be specified therein, for reasons to be recorded in writing, exempt either prospectively or retrospectively any class of land in any area or areas or any part thereof from payment of land revenue. But government is given this authority or this power that if they feel necessary, they can exempt any area of land from paying land revenue. But whenever it is done, the reason has to be recorded in writing. Why that is being done, that reason should be recorded in writing. If they want to put some conditions that this sort of a land, if these conditions are fulfilled, it is not supposed to pay land revenue, then those conditions also will be specified, and whatever is the reason, that has to be written in writing. Okay, taken exempt from payment of land revenue, and this exemption can be done prospectively or retrospectively. So what is prospectively and retrospectively? Prospective and retrospective.
When a new law is introduced,
Hmm.
it may affect the previous transactions also. If it is not done, or if it is in actually I'm out of words. I know
Correct.
the thing.
Retrospectively means what you have said already. Previous transactions it would
In
apply.
disputes or transactions which are not closed yet, this law will be affecting those transactions also.
Yes.
That is a retrospective effect.
Retrospective.
Prospective means in future transactions, this law will be in effect.
Yes.
Applicable.
Yeah.
I forgot that word.
No, correct. That only. So prospective and retrospective effect we have. So this payment of land revenue, right? When we say any exemptions are given, if any exemptions are given, it might affect prospectively or retrospectively. In income tax law also, we mostly see retrospective effect something is having. Like Income Tax Act is being passed, thinking about the situations that in this situation, this much tax, this, that, like that. Sometimes it might happen that at a later stage government realizes that because we had this provision we are suffering huge loss. Okay, we are suffering huge loss. In such cases they make changes in the law having retrospective effect, that in previous transactions also it would apply because government has suffered loss in terms of revenue. Income Tax Act we see like that. Same ways for land revenue also, government can say that these types of lands are exempted and it is not just prospective, it will have retrospective effect from this particular time. Maybe some landslide or something has happened, all right, because of that government has decided to exempt from land revenue, payment of land revenue. They might say that on this 2013 this happened, now we are introducing the law from 2013 only, whatever land revenue they have paid it should be returned back, as in retrospective effect. Previous years also it might be having its application. Okay, so it can be prospective or retrospective on any class of land wherein government is having the authority by giving reasons in writing they get exempted from payment of land revenue. Now, there are two exemptions which are mentioned under this legislation that are not supposed to pay land revenue. Alluvial land. So what is it? It is nothing but a plain. Alluvial plain is a largely flat landform created by deposition of sediment over a long period of time, but by one or more rivers coming from highland regions from which alluvial soil forms. All alluvial lands, newly formed islands, abundant riverbeds, small shell west in the state government. So this sort of land you might have seen near rivers and all, right? Sometimes a big area is also formed like that, right? Soil will be collected like that. It is. I saw one lake was there near my previous house. There was a lake. That lake is no more there, and there is like a big area of land which is something like this only, right? It has formed. So these sort of lands are also exempted. However, the holder or occupant of such bank or shore on which such alluvial land is formed shall be entitled to its temporary use unless and until the area of the same exceeds 1 acre. No land revenue shall be levied in respect of such lands, newly formed islands, abandoned river beds during the period of temporary use. For temporary use, it will be permitted, and during that point in time, they are exempted from payment of land revenue. So, because this is specifically mentioned, specifically mentioned under the legislation, they get an exemption. Okay, exemption in case of diluvium. So here what is happening is gradual washing away of soil along a water course. So this we see for houses near rivers and all. After every, like monsoon, there will be news that this thing got washed away. Have you seen like that news? Big areas are also sometimes washed away. They just disappear. Right, so there was one news, I forgot the name of the state. There was a very beautiful and a big house just near next to a river, and this entire very big house, this entire plot only got washed away. Okay, so like that also mostly it happens because of landslide and all, right? So in such cases, because of washing away of soil along a water course, every holder of land paying land revenue will be entitled to a decrease of assessment if any portion of the land not being less than half an acre in extent is lost, like that. So what extent they have lost, if there is such kind of a loss, then there may be a decrease of assessment. The amount of land revenue that they were paying, there will be a decrease because they have lost some plot of their land, some area of their land. Notwithstanding any law, custom, or usage, to the contrary, all alluvial lands, newly formed island, abandoned riverbeds shall vest in the state government, but the holder or occupant of the bank or shore on which such alluvial land is formed shall be entitled to temporary use of it unless and until the area of the same exceeds 1 acre. They will be allowed for temporary use. During the time of temporary use, they are not expected to pay land revenue. In such land, island, riverbeds shall be at the disposal of Deputy Commissioner, subject to provisions of Section 92, Clause 2. Section 92. Okay, so no land revenue shall be levied in respect of such land or newly formed island because they are temporarily used by the people. But in Deputy Commissioner is having all the rights related to it. He can frame laws, he can pass regulations, notifications, etc. Okay, is it clear?
Clear, ma'am.
Okay, so it's a general rule that all lands must pay land revenue unless and until exemptions are given. These are 2 exemptions mentioned. Apart from that also, state government is having the authority that they can provide exemptions to any other area, any other plot of land, any other class of land by mentioning the reasons in writing. They can give the exemption.